Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of ZapSec Modernization Series. I'm Carl Schneider, Vice President at ZapSec, and I'm joined by Hitesh Kumar, who's our Senior Security Architect. And Hitesh, I want to spend some time talking today about, SASE strategies and the sometimes misguided strategies that take place out in the world. So a lot of times I'm talking to CISOs and they're telling their boards, hey, we've gone through this SASE transformation. But when I get into an architecture review with them, the question that I always come back to is,
Did you actually redesign anything?
yeah, exactly. Did you redesign your access model or did you take the firewall rules and just move them into somebody else's cloud? Because those are two very different things. And the board certainly can't tell the difference from a slide deck.
Yeah, and the scary part is the security team sometimes cannot tell the difference either, because the dashboard looks modern, the traffic is flowing through the cloud pops, everything feels like it changed, but when you pull the policy, it's the same source destination, port-based logic from like 2017.
Yeah, I know. So let's paint the picture for folks. When you walk into one of these assessments, what does a typical SASE deployment actually look like under the hood?
Okay. So the organization has purchased a SASE platform, right? Could be Prisma, Fortinet, Zscaler, doesn't matter. The deployment is live. Traffic is routing through the cloud enforcement point. So far, so good. But then you look at the policy layer, and what you find is someone took the existing firewall rule base, sometimes, two, 3,000 rules that accumulated over a decade and migrated them into the new platform. Same IP-based logic, same implicit trust. Once you're authenticated, it's the same port-based allow and deny. And I get it. Migration is hard. Nobody wants to rewrite the policies from scratch during a platform cutover, especially. But the result is you're running a perimeter model in cloud infrastructure and calling it zero trust.
Yeah, and that's what kills me about this because the business risk angle is something that nobody talks about. When you had distributed firewalls, a bad rule affected one site, and maybe two. But when you centralize all of that into a single SASE fabric without cleaning it up, now one misconfigured policy propagates to every user globally instantly. And we've seen that, right?
Yeah, more more than once actually. And the blast radius of misconfigurations in a centralized enforcement model is fundamentally larger than in a distributed one. And that is just math, right? And most organizations, they've not updated their change management process to account for that. So if
Right.
someone is watching this and thinking, is that us? Here are the three tells, right? Number one, your policy is still anchored to network constructs like IP ranges, subnets, zones. The SASE platform absolutely supports identity-based rules, but nobody rewired the policies to actually use them. So they just map the old zone names to new labels.
Yeah, right. Which looks great in the migration report, by the way, because the report's going to say all the policies were successfully migrated, which is technically true, but architecturally it's meaningless.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we see, right? And there's also the authentication. It's a one-time gate. User logs in, gets a session, and the SASE fabric trusts that session for hours. There's no posture reassessment, there's no behavioral signal, no step-up challenge when that context changes. So this is not continuous verification. That is just a VPN session with a cloud proxy in front of it.
Right, and that's the one that really gets to me because the board was told we moved to zero trust. But zero trust means continuous verification. And if the verification stops after login, well, that's not the thing that we told the board we were buying.
Yeah, and there's also another subtle thing, and it may be the most important one, application context. And this is completely ignored, right? The policy does not differentiate between a finance user accessing the payroll from a managed laptop at the headquarters versus the same user accessing the same app, but this time from a personal tablet at an airport or a coffee shop. So it's the same credentials, it's the same application, but it's got completely different risk profiles. So the firewall thinking treats those identical requests the same, but a real SASE architecture would never do that.
Right. Right. Okay. So I tell you what, let's get really prescriptive here. Let's say a CISO is watching this and thinking, we're probably somewhere on this spectrum. What is the actual move?
Right. So every enforcement decision in the SASE fabric needs three inputs, not one, three, right? So the first one is the identity. So who is this person or a workload, and is it verified continuously, not just at the login, right? So the next one is device posture. Is this endpoint a managed endpoint or an unmanaged endpoint? And is it patched? Is it compliant right now? Not when it last checked in like 12 hours ago. And also, what is the context? What are they accessing from where? And does this pattern match what we expect for this role? Right? When all those three signals feed every policy decision in real time, that is when SASE is doing what SASE was designed to do.
Yeah, and here's the thing that doesn't show up in the vendor briefings, right? The technology supports all of this. Prisma can do it, Zscaler can do it, Fortinet can do it. So the gap is not the product. The gap is in the operating model behind it. So your identity team, your endpoint team, and your network team, if they're still running in silos, you're not going to get there. They're on different consoles. They've got different approval chains. They're even looking at different data. But until those three teams co-own the policy and strategy, your SASE platform is just a single pane of glass showing you a fragmented policy state.
Yeah. And that is the real test, by the way. If we look at the next slide, and I use this in every assessment. So can you answer this question in 30 seconds? I ask the customer, and we say for a given user accessing a given application from a given device, right now, what is your policy like? And where is it enforced? And if the answer requires them looking at three different consoles and making a phone call, your SASE deployment is probably a migration and not a transformation.
Yeah, and I would add one more thing, right? Consolidating tools without converging the operating model behind them is probably the most expensive way to stay exactly where you started, right? I've seen seven-figure SASE investments that brought the organization nothing except, a brand new version of complexity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if any of
And
that sounded familiar, you're not alone. Most enterprises are somewhere on the spectrum we're looking at here. And the question is whether you find the gaps on your own terms or you wait for an incident to find them for you.
yeah, absolutely. And we have a SASE architecture assessment for you, right? That maps your current deployment against these inputs. And it's not a product pitch. This is what we've been talking about over the last few minutes. It's an architecture review. And it takes about 2 weeks. And if you want this framework, drop SASE in the comments or reach out to us directly, and we'll be more than happy to help you with it.
Yeah, you know what, Hitesh, we should do one of these on microsegmentation next.
Oh, I have thoughts on
I,
microsegmentation.
yeah, I bet you do. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for watching. Don't forget, ZapSec helps companies modernize their cybersecurity, beginning with strategy and going all the way through the configuration and procedures to truly secure an environment. We've been doing this for a long time, been there, done that. If any of this resonates with you, we'd welcome a conversation on how to bring this sort of transformation to your organization. Visit zapsec.com for more information or reach out directly to Hitesh and myself. Our email addresses are visible at the beginning of the video.